So I'm James. I'm from Dremio. I'll let Yassine introduce himself, but we're going to be talking about how BIC have transformed their architecture with Dremio's data lake engine. So, Yassine.
Hello, James. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. So, who am I? Very quickly, my name is Yassine. I'm a lead data architect for the BIC company. I've been working 13 years in business intelligence data. I joined BIC in 2019. I'm in charge of the cloud data platform architecture and some strategic data projects in the company. As you can tell, probably, I'm not from around here. I come from France, so pardon the accent. I'll do my best. Oh, yeah, so would
cool.
you like to...
So do you want to introduce BIC and what you guys do?
Absolutely. So, all right, this is a slide about who we are. Seems to be some sort of issue with the overlay, but just a few key figures. I think everyone knows BIC. It's a leading company in everything about stationary lighters, shavers. A few figures, interesting figures. 1.8 billion in net sales in 2021, and approximately 26 million products are sold every day around the world. We operate in 160 countries, so lots of data to play with.
Cool. So it'd be great to see a little bit about your architecture prior to Dremio and what that looked like.
Yes. So as it so happens, I have the slide to talk about that. So how was data consumed at BIC prior to Dremio? This slide represents a very simplified architecture of our data. All right. I'm not going to talk about the lower layer, everything about the landing zone, the row zone. It's not relevant here. Let's start directly with the the trusted zone, right, where we have our fact tables, our dimension tables, good old data warehousing. So we have some legacy part of the data warehousing, then a relational database, some more modern stuff, pocket files in data lakes, basically. And then you find the refined zone, the curated zone. So at BIC, we use Power BI as a reporting tool mainly. So we have tabular models that are at the base of our refined zone. They, regular tabular models hosted in Azure Analysis Services or Power BI premium capacities, as they call them today. So that's how it was.
And what were the problems with this architecture?
So, a few common issues, I'd say, that you would find, especially with high volume models. We had some billion-plus rows tables, fact tables, especially with finance data. We have our clients; they really like to drill down into details in their reports. So we had to keep a fine grain in our fact tables, detailed level of data. So very huge fact tables, huge models, and then those models basically, if you want to host them in Azure Analysis Services, Power BI Premium, well, you have to go for the biggest queues, the one that with the big capacities, and they tend to cost some money. So that's one of the limitations we had with big models. As a company in the team, we do the reporting for global. So we had a lot of big models, supply chain, finance. So that's one of the issues. The other issue is more about what we're going to talk about a bit later, the data mesh. How do we open our data? How do we make it available to our users while maintaining some governance on the data, maintaining that concept of single source of truth, not letting every user create his own data repository somewhere and then figures don't match, and then it's a lot of trouble for global consolidation.
Cool. So then what did your architecture look like after you looked at Dremio?
Yeah, so overly simplified schema. All right, we'll get into details in the next slides. But basically, Dremio it fits in the architecture. It fits just in. Let's say it can actually replace the analysis services layer. It sits there in that refined zone, that curated zone. So our sources of data don't move. There are still the ADLS Gen 2 data lake with our packet files. There's still the legacy relational data warehouse, especially with our dimensions, the referential dimension, the product dimension, the company's dimension, the calendar, what have you. So it sits there, and our user keep using Power BI Excel as their reporting tool, basically. So that's where Dremio fits in this architecture.
Okay. And are you saying that Dremio replaced the cubes within BIC's architecture?
So yeah, it replaced the tabular models in import mode. So now we're going to see that in the next slide. Oh, maybe I can go to the next slide. So, here we go. So if you look at on the left side, it replaces the usual import models in tabular services, in analysis services. Now we use Dremio as a data source, and then we can have direct query models. And as you know, these models, there's no in-memory processing of the data in analysis services, now which relies on Dremio to do that work. So the models don't weigh anything. The models, you just need to deploy them, and they don't weigh anything, so you don't need the big capacities. So that's the part where we replaced analysis services and Power BI premium capacities. Also, you can see here on this left part, we fully leverage the data lake engine features of Dremio. So it's actually all this blue layer that you can see. We started opening access to even the ERP software. So at BIC, we use Jetty Edwards ERP software. It's one of the ERPs that is used in manufacturing companies. So having that SQL layer, it's just one single point of entry for everyone who needs to consume data. So we now also have some various partners who we share data with, and they are used to running SQL queries. If you tell them, yeah, my data is in a Pocket file in the data lake, and they don't have the tools usually to read those kind of data. So, and you also don't want to deal with separate security for them or dealing with replicating data in a place specially for them. So Dremio allows us to have that. We just put in place Dremio, the data stays where it is in the relational database, the data warehouse, the data lake, and it opens up all these possibilities. And on the right, we have a more data mesh-like scenario, let's say, features. We leverage the features of Dremio to open our data to different populations of users, all the while maintaining data governance. We are maintaining this concept of single source of truth, all right? So it all starts with our neatly consolidated, cleansed data in our fact tables and dimensions. With Dremio, we create those data sets, those virtual data sets, that's the Dremio concept. And then we simply, have users. For example, here I can, provide an example. We have, let's say, actual sales data, right? So we're going to provide a first data set that's actual sales for the whole group, and then you will have some users that have different needs. So they want actual sales, but maybe excluding the intercompany sales, or just maybe for one specific company or one specific country, or what have you. So we will have another data set that is derived from that first data set, which is in turn, we have this whole semantic layer, basically, that allows us to keep the single source of truth is the same data. It's just different ways of seeing it. For those particular users, we can even, rename things, make it more user-friendly for them. But in the end, it's all the same data. And we have also other scenarios where we now allow users to combine the existing data that we have with their own data set. So on the top right corner, you can see, for example, I'm going to take a very concrete example. We have local teams that have sellout data. They get, flat files from their distributors of the big products in different countries. It's tough as a global team to take care of all these needs locally. So they have these Excel files, CSV files, and they want to combine them with referential data. So for example, our product dimension, or product families dimension, or what have you, companies referential. So it's a way of doing that. Dremio allows us to let users really have access to that portal, to those data sets, build their own, and also combine it with their own data sets. We have dedicated user spaces, home spaces where they can upload their Excel, their CSV files, and combine, do some joins, create some more data sets to share those. So.
Cool. Really good to hear. So what were the kind of key benefits when you were using this new architecture with Dremio?
So there are a lot of benefits. The first benefits, I'd say, is the cost of the infrastructure. As I said, we can now replace some very expensive analysis services queues of Power BI premium capacities. So the particular example here, it's the financial data I was talking about, billion plus rows in fact tables. So definitely a big gain there. Benefits, of course, we can open the data now to various partners, to our business users, while maintaining some sort of governance. The security, you set it up once in the Dremio layer, the security layer, and then that's it. If they access it through Power BI or through direct SQL querying for the partners, the security will be applied. You can do row-level security, so that's one less issue to deal with, setting up the security at the different means of access. So yeah, basically that's it. Really open the data, create some sort of data mesh possibilities in our company, and reducing drastically the costs of doing Power BI reporting with serious data, with big models.
Okay, cool. And would you say you're delivering that self-service to different parts of the business, which you weren't able to do before?
So yeah, definitely. So different parts of the business. So for example, we have population supply chain, population and finance. We have partners. So if there are other teams that need the data to feed other financial software, for example, we can answer all these with a single point of entry. We keep our users happy because they love Power BI. They stay there, in known territory. They have been trained. They've been playing with Power BI for years. So it's all transparent to them. They just, one single point of entry. They have their data sets. Whatever the intricate mechanism we do in the lower layers, they don't see. They just, have their regular data sets in Power BI. So.
Cool. So what are the most important capabilities within Dremio and in your new architecture that you've enabled?
So as it so happens, I also have a slide talking about that. Oops, sorry. So in our field, the devil is in the details. It's always in the details. So of course, Dremio has the core features that we all like. The data lake engine features, right? It allows us to have one single layer, SQL layer on top of various data sources, whatever Pocket, CSV, JSON, whatever you can query it with SQL. We query the data where it resides, right? No more replication of data, etc. The caching acceleration features, that's what I was talking about in the financial example, finance data example, where we now are able to have direct query models that are very reactive. Our reports, our visuals, they refresh in less than a second or two. So,
can you spend a little bit more time on that performance piece and elaborate where you are with that performance?
So what do you mean? Did we have to?
Yeah. So how's the performance changed over time?
Oh yeah. So basically, if you try direct query models in Power BI, you'll see you cannot achieve as soon as you have millions of rows in your fact tables, you cannot achieve satisfactory results in your reactivity of visuals. If you change a slicer, if you play with a filter, you just wait for a few seconds for the visuals to refresh. It's not really good. It's not really acceptable by our business users. So we did spend time leveraging the reflection features of Dremio. That's the acceleration features of Dremio. With your help also, we did find a way to really make our data models, the direct query tabular models, optimized to leverage those acceleration features. So, in the end, it's pretty simple to do. So it's not a lot of investment of time to do that. It's just when you have the basis, you're able to leverage that. So I'd say we did spend some time, but in the end, it was very straightforward. And once we had the basis, we now build the models without even contacting you guys anymore. So we're pretty autonomous on that.
Cool.
So I was saying the core features, the data mesh features, all right. It's all fun and games, right? Until you get into the details, and then you say, oh, by the way, can I do this? Can I do that? Does it handle this? Does it handle that? And that's where we were somehow disappointed by some of the other solutions that we tested. So we did. So it's been I have to say it's been almost 3 years that we've been in contact with you guys, right? So we were starting to play with Dremio since we only invested in Dremio at the end of 2021. So why is that? We tried some of the competition, or these solutions exist for the core features. You can combine some of the solutions that you can even see here. But yeah, what we found really quite unique is the tool that has all these features nicely packaged. So on the details front, you have User friendliness, right? So everything can be done point and click. Some of the solution we had, it's we had to code basically. Had to do some code, either it's SQL code or some sort of way to do the actions that you wanted to do. I should say developer friendly, not user friendly, because our team is on 4 different continents. The data team at BIC, some of them are more or less comfortable with coding, even sometimes things as simple as SQL. So it was really good to be able to do all that, to create the data set, to create the reflection layer, the acceleration, everything with point and clicks. Create the refresh workflows, the schedules, how do your caching layers refresh over time with the new data sets, when the source data set refreshes. So that was really a plus to be able to do that. All right, it's integrated, and that's why we also bought it at the end of the year. It's pretty recent, but now you have full Power BI integration in Dremio. So there's a native connector. You don't have to install the ODBC connector anymore, separate ODBC connector. There's no need for gateway once the data sets are published in the Power BI service. SSO, right? You have true single sign-on, so that was also a difference with some of the competition. So some people will tell, yeah, well, of course we do single sign-on. And then it's just about the web interface of the tool. But if you connect to Power BI, for example, and try to access the data, oh yeah, then you have to use a user and a password, basically. It's not true single sign-on with the Active Directory. So you implemented that also part of the Power BI integration. So even inside Power BI, when I access the data set, I have true single sign-on, which allows us to do some monitoring also, to see who accesses, auditing, monitoring features, who accesses what data, what kind of queries are run, etc., with the identity of the person really reading the published report. Devops Friendly, so we use Azure DevOps in our team to do, everything related to source control and CI/CD delivery, deployment between different environments. We also have, so it comes with CI/CD already in place, but we wanted to implement some sort of pull request workflows, code review workflows. So we're working on that with Carsten, actually. We're working on that. It's been a few weeks. We're implementing that in our Azure DevOps. So that's also a big, a detail that's quite important. Handling the caching layer refresh. So as soon as you have caching, indexing, acceleration, it's all about how does the data refresh? If my fact tables gets new data, do I need to care about, okay, now I need also to refresh the cached layer. Dremio allows you to do that in lots of ways. One of the particular very interesting ways is the metadata discovery. So if my data sources are in Pocket files, for example, in the data lake, Dremio actually monitors the data lake. So it actually detect when you have new Pocket files dropped in the folder, and then it will automatically trigger incremental refresh of the reflections. Security, so role-level security, you can implement that pretty easily. You have also a single point, as I said earlier, for governance. Basically, when you create a data set, open your data, you set up security with various roles, who can access what, and you put people in roles. And no matter how many other data sets are created in the data mesh that use the first data set as a data source, it doesn't matter, that security will be applied, and you will make sure people can only see what they are supposed to see. All right, auditing, I said, so there are some native features integrated in Dremio. We really like the fact that you can export, archive in JSON form all the queries that are played over the cluster. So for auditing, security reasons, it's good to have that archived and be able to use it and report on it. Scalability, so that's one of the perks also. Since it's all deployed on Azure, in our case, it's on an Azure Kubernetes cluster. And if you want to grow up, if you want to grow with the data that we receive, it's pretty easy to do so, because the data is stored in a data lake, so the costs are negligible. So it doesn't matter how much more models we're going to put, how much more data we're going to put. We're not going to pay more, technically, or very negligible amount with the S3 storage or the Azure Data Lake storage. So that's one of the plus. And finally, of course, last but not least, the licensing costs. That was a major point in the discussion.
Cool. So any surprises in your experience with Dremio? How's it been working with the different members of the team and things like that?
Surprises, not really. We've been needing some assistance at first, also to train our team members. As I said, we have team members all over the globe and different level of expertise. So it was nice to have the support, the training guys that you provided. It's another way of doing data. You have to think about when you develop direct query models. It's other concepts, it's few subtleties that you need to be aware of. But yeah, no, surprises not really. At least good surprises.
Cool. So I think that's from me from questions. I'll open it up to the audience and see if anyone has any questions for Yassine. Yeah. Oh.
Sorry?
So basically from, if you've got multiple different warehouses, you've got your transport section of logistics warehouse,
Yeah.
are you able to then, using this to give a holistic view across each of those different areas of the business?
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question. So you said in case you have different data warehouses with different process data with different topics, are you able to kind of combine them all and to give a holistic point of view? Yeah, absolutely. So one of the slides I showed, okay, this is a simplified architecture. You can imagine you can have, as many data lakes as you want. They can have different forms. It could be a relational data warehouse. It could be flat files. It could be Parquet files. It could be, there's a long list of supported data sources in Dremio. So once we have that, it's all about creating data sets, Dremio data set. We call that the semantic layer. So it's all about that. And then you can combine all sorts of stuff. Union, you can do joins, you can do all this that you would need basically to combine the data. Also, in your scenario, one of the challenges maybe is to have a consolidated, so if you're combining dimensions, you have to make sure you have unique IDs, this kind of stuff. So in that case, Dremio has features that they call you can do the last mile ETL. So in my experience, Dremio is not an ETL tool. So I know that some people can probably use it for ETL. It's used for last mile ETL. So in creating a data set, you have features to do some data transformation, some data cleansing. You have those functions too. So in your scenarios, you already have that, so you can combine and clean. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Another question, maybe? Do we have?
Yeah, there's one.
Time? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's up.
Okay. So my question was, obviously, as part of your requirements, you would have considered other competitors.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
In terms of your requirements,
Yeah.
you would have considered other competitors as well.
Yeah.
But what was the deciding factor to go with Dremio?
So okay, let me get back to this slide here. So really, so we did actually, we had a selection process, and in the end, we did a 1 month long proof of concept with that scenario I was talking about with 1 billion plus rows with some financial data. I'm not going to talk about the competitor, obviously, but basically, Dremio was the only one that had the full package with all these features. The details, as I said, it's, you do something with the software and then you want to integrate into DevOps and then you say, oh, okay, so that's not going to be easy. Or, so I had an experience with a competitor. When you want to, let's say, schedule some refreshing of that caching layer, when you want to do incremental refreshes of your data, you actually have to write cron jobs, which we all know, the cron job syntax is not very human friendly, let's say. So in Dremio, it's just, point and click, you have a nice user interface and you do that. So all these details, let's say, and also, to be honest, the licensing cost. So if you compare that to, is it okay if I name?
It's your speech, Dom. It's up to you.
So
Name who you like.
If you compare that to licensing costs and usage costs of Snowflake, for example, solution like Snowflake, you would find some differences. So.
Cool. Any other questions from the audience?
I think we do. No, maybe we do have 5 more minutes.
So if there are,
Any
if not,
question? Nope.
cool. Well, that's
All right.
it. Thank you very much, Yassine.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, guys.